Why? They're just relentless. You know, the cat dogs last night were just goofy. I don't know what it is. Maybe we have some catnip around the house. They got into it last night. They were just nonstop nonsense last night from the dogs.
Full of energy?
Full of energy, and I am full of energy. Greg Cosell in a couple of minutes. There's an old saying, act like you've been there before, you know? And so Philadelphia is just imploding, the Philadelphia Eagles, a team I have defended many times, and Carson Wentz had to answer media questions yesterday because apparently the practices, according to multiple reports in Philadelphia, are lousy. People are screwing off, and it manifests itself on bad Sunday games. And Carson Wentz addressed the stories that the Eagles' practices are just a clown show.
Are my practices perfect? No. I mean, that's why it's practice. But as far as sloppy practice habits and those things, for one, I mean, you guys are out there every day, and then you guys are asked to leave. So the media's not even out there. So I don't know where that's coming from. But it is what it is. You know, I know I'm not perfect. I know that's why it's practice, and I got to be better all the time.
Let me ask you, do quarterbacks run practices? Not really. Head coaches do. The assistants that would allow bad practices, who hired them? It wasn't Carson Wentz. This is a coach issue. And I like Doug Peterson, but can I just throw this at you? Philadelphia won a Super Bowl. And I made fun of them at the time. They partied for a year. The head coach got a book deal. Nick Foles got a statue. So did Doug Peterson. Everybody got a local car endorsement deal. Colin, the Philly special was all time. It made the score 22-12. You won 41-33. Even that was overrated. Wasn't that even that a little overrated? Look, this franchise, since the Super Bowl, is a 500 franchise. 21-19-1. They're not buttoned up. You know, it's why lottery winners, 50% go broke. They don't know how to act. They buy 9 jet skis, 6 cars, 3 homes. They don't know how to act. If you give a millionaire just $1 million, he turns it into 2. He's been there before. New England's been to 9 Super Bowls. They've won 6. Find me the statues outside their stadium. Philadelphia wins 1. They got statues to a backup quarterback. This franchise needs to get its act together. I mean, that's what it is. They can't get their act together. This has been like a 2.5-year story. Infighting, coaching, practices bad, players ripping other. Button it up. Tear the statue down for a couple weeks. How about we go to the stadium and not glamorize ourselves and romanticize the past? I don't see a lot of statues in Foxborough. Yeah. You know, it's like the difference between the Yankees and the Mets. The Yankees put Babe Ruth in the outfield and World Series rings. The Mets, it's pennants. Oh, 1 year we won the division. What are the standards? Like, let's get over the Super Bowl. You're a 500 franchise since. That's all in a bad division. Not even a good division. In a lousy division. So there you go. Greg Cosell, if you play fantasy football, if you bet football, if you love football, if you really care about football, Greg Cosell's 10 minutes of NFL meat sandwich, and he is now joining us live, as he does every Thursday at this time. So it's interesting. When you think of Gruden, you think of big opinions, big personality. I mean, that John Gruden is, people do impressions of John Gruden. But it's funny, Trent Dilfer said this week, he goes, they actually win really boring football. And I'm like, well, when you watch them, I said, they remind me a little of Minnesota. They run it. Their quarterback is low risk. Their defense is susceptible with maybe one pass rusher. We love the Raiders. We're not sure if we like the Vikings. They feel like the same team to me a little bit. Your thoughts?
Well, it's interesting you say that because the Raiders, in many ways, like the Vikings, play a lot out of base personnel. They're a team in the league, and there are not many teams like this. They play with 3 wide receivers on less than 50% of their offensive snaps.
Wow.
This is a team, Colin, that lines up with a fullback, with 2 tight ends, with 3 tight ends. Now, and the thing about Gruden is he's very multiple with his formations out of those tight end packages, but they line up and they run the ball.
Yeah.
And Josh Jacobs he's a very, very good back. He can work really well in confined space. He has natural power. He can reaccelerate, and he can also bounce outside. So they're really a team that's built, when you get right down to it, on running the football and then trying to create explosive plays off of that.
I'm actually fascinated. So I have this theory, and I don't know if it bears itself out, that Jameis Winston tends to be a little loose. When you combine him with Bruce Arians, who can coach loose, it is a lot of turnovers. But if Jameis, who's a little loose, had a coach like John Payton, and you could just get some of the productivity, but eliminate 35% of the mistakes, that Jameis has a chance to be a very effective player for the Saints. I cannot wait to watch this transpire. Is Jameis and Sean Payton, what do you expect to see?
Yeah, that's a fascinating mix because Jameis is certainly not rhythmic in the way Drew Brees is. Drew Brees is as rhythmic as any quarterback that's played. And certainly Jameis has a stronger arm, so he can make different kinds of throws than Drew. So it's going to be a really interesting balance for Sean Payton as to how he puts together a game plan and calls a game. Because you do look at Jameis and you say, hey, I think we can design some things where we can push it down the field a little bit more than we can do with Drew Brees. But on the other hand, we don't want to get into a situation where we're asking Winston to push it down the field too much,
right? Because
that's where we can get a little reckless. So it'll be a very interesting balance between staying kind of rhythmic, which is not – Winston can do it, but that's not his strength, versus saying, hey, maybe we can throw some more of those seam balls to Jared Cook, which we really quite haven't been able to throw very much with Drew.
Yeah. So here's a game that is on paper. Green Bay should be in trouble. So the Colts run the football, and the Packers are, they love the warm weather. They have a lead, but you get into a fist fight, you get into the octagon, they're not nearly as comfortable. And I look at this game and I think, oh, this is going to be a nightmare for the Packers. And then I dig a little deeper and a little deeper and a little deeper, and I think, I don't know if the Colts can stay with them offensively. Will the Packers be able to negate or slow the Colts' run game this weekend, in your opinion?
Well, I think the run game for the Colts has been a little up and down. I mean, I loved Jonathan Taylor coming out of Wisconsin. I think he's still struggling to figure out the NFL game because he runs with a little hesitancy and uncertainty, which you never saw at Wisconsin. Last week when they beat Tennessee, Naheem Hines was their feature back. He played far and away more snaps than Wilkins or Taylor. So while their run game might have some numbers, Colin, I don't think it has the consistency where you say, hey, they're just going to line up and run it, and they'll run it down the throats of the Packers. Maybe they'll take that approach. Maybe this will be the week that Jonathan Taylor really shows up. But the other thing about Green Bay, even though I think they're better against the pass, is they're pretty well defined in their coverage concepts. And I think you'll see Rivers and company take some shots down the field against coverage that they'll anticipate, and they'll need to hit some big plays in this game.
So Joy and I noticed it about halfway to three-quarters through last year that Miami looked really well coached, very smart, certain limitations extending the field or stretching it, but they had talent. And right now, you're seeing all that hard work and coaching, special teams buttoned up, good defense, it's winning games. But we also know that the NFL usually is you take some steps in this. Do you buy Miami? Are you surprised by Tua? What does the film say about this team overall?
Well, obviously everybody focuses on Tua, and he's played well the last couple of weeks. I mean, he's essentially played well since he's been in there. He's doing an excellent job. He's a ball distributor. They're really setting him up well with defined reads and throws. To me, the story of Miami over the last month is their defense. When you watch their defense, they have become very aggressive. They put 6 people on the line of scrimmage. They make it difficult to sort out who's coming and who's not coming. They have these zero coverage looks. Sometimes it's pure man and it's true zero coverage. Sometimes it's kind of a zone match behind what looks like a 6-man rush. They're very